Police radio has come a long way in almost a century. Today it's vital for forces to operate effectively and safely and is constantly evolving. Long before systems like Airwave, launched in Wales in the early 2000s, Starnet, used in Staffordshire in the early to mid 1990s, and the UHF radio systems used by police in the 1980s and 90s, Manchester was again key in the evolution of radio, in this instance police communications. So what does Heaton Park in Manchester have to do with police communications? Well, you may think that the large BT tower here has something to do with it, but it's actually this site you can see here. The early 1930s saw a number of new schemes, all using telegraphy on MF frequencies just above the medium wave broadcasting band, in what was then the trawler band. These were set up by radio amateurs in the police force, G2VQ, G6OM, G5KL and G5BJ to name just a few. In 1934, receivers tuned to Newcastle's police frequency were also installed in Gateshead Borough's single police car and in 3 belonging to Durham County Constabulary. Private wire telephone links already existed between the headquarters of the three forces, so messages for the Durham or Gateshead vehicles would be passed verbally from the respective headquarters to the Newcastle operator, who then tapped them out on a Morse key. Heaton Park Police Wireless Station first appears on the 1952 Ordnance Survey map, but in 1935 this system in Newcastle was set up by Manchester City Police, but on a much bigger scale. They introduced an MF system which covered 6 police force areas: Manchester, Bolton, Oldham, Rochdale, Salford and Altrincham Division. The radio station was located at Heaton Park, and all of the fixed and mobile equipment was actually manufactured here by a team of technicians led by Mr Ian Ortoloni, G6OM, and Mr O.B. Kellett, G5KL, radio amateurs who were by then serving policemen. This system, like most others at the time, was one-way on telegraphy. The receivers consisted of 2 HF amplifiers, a detector and an LF amplifier. One two-way installation was made in the CID Night Squad van. On the site, a 140-foot mast was used to transmit. On the receiver side, there were 2 70-foot wooden poles erected in front of the operations room which carried a dipole. By 1939 it was clear that the future of police communications wouldn't utilise MF but VHF instead. Experiments at Manchester's Heaton Park station in 1937 had demonstrated that, despite popular belief at the time, VHF could be used successfully but for base to mobile communications, even in cities. When Ian Ortoloni told a British radio manufacturing company's chief radio engineer that he'd been experimenting successfully with 60 and 78 MHz in Manchester, and also that it was likely that the band eventually to be allocated might be as high as 100 MHz, the engineer said, "Ridiculous, it can never work, especially in a city." What followed from this was a convoy journey to Manchester with a special VHF test laid on from the Heaton Park station for the chairman and the sceptical chief radio engineer, which was a complete success by all accounts. During 1938, a VHF system was set up at Heaton Park to supplement the MF telegraph system. The cars were fitted with national I-10 receivers, and the base station was a crystal-controlled Hallicrafter transmitter. It's unclear when the wireless station was disbanded at Heaton Park, but the wooden building still survives to this day, and anyone walking past would never know the history behind it. So there you have it, another story in which Manchester became a key location in the development of radio communications. The testing and experimentation by G6OM and G5KL paved the way for what is modern police communications today.